Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey. It's time for my chat on my Discord to do a template review, where I look at your guys' template and critique them and tell you how to improve them, make them more min-maxy for single player and sometimes multiplayer if you're very, very special. We have this boyo. Okay, the first two things that really jump out at me about this template that could need work is, one, the armor is pretty low. So for you to get amphibious tank chassis, it's at least 1941. And in 1941, you need an average of higher than 12 armor. So you're going to be looking for at least 50 armor in 1941. So overall, these amphibious tanks need to have a lot more armor applied onto them. Armor skirts, more armor points, sloped armor, or welded armor, for instance. They're easy ways of adding armor on anyway in the tank modules. Field hospitals, usually not a big fan of them, but it would work quite well with the special forces because usually they've got quite a low HP, so they take heavy casualties, so that will mitigate that a little bit. Signals are great. Artillery is great. Engineers is good too, because once again, this is amphibious invasion troop division, and therefore having engineers on give it a little bit more of a boost to your amphibious invasion damage. This will do some insane damage. Probably this division will do like a plus 50 attack damage when doing an amphibious invasion. So this division is like perfect for breaking rivers and amphibious invasions. I think for the most part, this is actually a decent division. I think the only downside to it is the lack of armor. Oh, I've spotted another problem. Whoa, another one. No AA. Usually having just a tiny little bit of AA is useful because it mitigates the breakthrough and defense penalty that you get for not having air superiority. And here we have another one. What do we got here? This is a 32 width boyo again. Armor of 37. He's in 1945 with 37 armor. That armor is way too low. At least 50, 60, 70 at least at this point. Soft attack's looking good. Overall, it's kind of just a bit of a weird division overall with SPGs and also a tank destroyer. Decent piercing though, 73. But overall, it could be a lot higher for this period of the game. It's okay. Ooh, what do we got here? We have motorized medium tanks. Okay, the biggest issue with this one. Tell me what it is. What is it? That's right. It's only got 19 organization. Organization is how long you attack or defend for until you have to retreat or end your attack. In this case, 19 organization is way too low. Minimum is 30, but more optimally is about 40. The way you get more organization is you need more infantry. Infantry is the motorized. So in this case, it usually needs a ratio of 1-for-1 medium tanks for 4 motorized infantry. Otherwise, you experience a big penalty to organization. And to be fair, HP is quite low too. Adding more infantry on will mitigate that as well. Overall, it's okay. It needs some work. I do approve of the breakthrough, and I do approve of the soft and hard attack as well as the piercing. Overall, pretty good. Next up, we have a tank. It looks like a Panther. It has got a big fat howitzer. It calls it Panther. Oh, it is a Panther. Okay. Radio 3. Wet ammunition storage. Easy maintenance. Easy maintenance is a good one at the minute because it reduces the cost of the tank. 22 production cost for a Panther. That's actually pretty decent cost too. Only downside, I suppose, it's got low piercing and low hard attack, but overall this is meant to do lots and lots of damage to infantry, and it definitely will do the job. Yeah, overall this is a really good tank. I can't really floor it, to be honest with you. The fact that he's managed to keep the speed really high as well and get the armor nice and high as well, this is a really, really, really good tank. Next on, we have a Leopard tank, which is a light tank. Has the same issue as well, 105 reliability. Get to 99, 98, you'll be good. Everything else is pretty spot on though. I'm not sure if I approve of the mechanized suspension though, because it reduces the hardness. You want to stick with the regular suspension, you'll be do just fine. Overall, the armor is a little bit on the lower end side for a Leopard. A Leopard's an advanced light tank. For a light tank in 1941, you want at least 50 armor at minimum. Overall, it lacks firepower, it lacks hardness, but it checks out. It's okay. Next up, we have the Panzer Grenadier. And it has got light tank recon, engineers, support equipment, artillery. I like the air attack. I like the defense. Mechanized are great for defense. Overall breakthrough is good too. Armor's a little bit on the low end overall. And the piercing is okay as well. I suppose for defensive purposes, there's not really much point having a medium tank. You might have just gone for 2 tank destroyers overall. That would have been probably better off overall. Recon's quite good for the defense as well. If this specifically is a division used exclusively for defense, it would be pretty good. Next up, we have a super heavy tank boyo. What's the armor? 84 army is fantastic. The org is a little bit on the low end at 36. Once again, you want to aim from and optimally a 40 organization. Super heavy tanks, unfortunately, are incredibly expensive. So probably having just 1 super heavy tank would be enough. But what do you go? What do you know? It's a super marine. It's also got a flame tank on it as well. This tank basically does a little bit of everything. It's the classic, I want a tank that does everything. And this is basically that tank. Overall, I can't really fault it for the most part. But the problem in 19, when you're heading towards like a super heavy tank period of super late game, I suppose, what have you got to contend with? It's one of those kind of, well, I've already won the game to cap a tank. You know what I mean? What do we have here? we have an engineer motorized division. This is a division that you can make as a minor power early game and do some really good damage to it. The only downside to it, though, is pushing into more difficult terrain types. This division will really struggle in mountains, but everywhere else it will excel. Speed. If you wanted to make a really easy improvement to this tank, a really super easy one, add a flamer on. Medium flamer, heavy flamer, that would be perfect. Oh, I like this. I like this one. So this is a 1939 tank with I think that's a medium tank destroyer, which gives a decent amount of piercing and a decent amount of armor. And the breakthrough is not too bad as well. To be fair, no, now look at it. There isn't nothing I would remove from this. Recon is good on defensive divisions. A bit of AA is always useful. Soft attack's always good to fight against infantry. Engineers for the dig in and the entrenchment and the defensive capabilities. And the tank's getting a little bit big, so logistics would keep it down. I suppose in all fairness, the logistics is the easy thing to go here, because overall it's only 22 width and the supply usage is directly 1, so it's not even that high. But the only thing I would probably remove is the logistics, but overall that's a really decent defensive, anti-tank, anti-armor, anti-hardness division. What do we have here? The IS-7. I just realized this is a super heavy tank. I thought this was a modern. Breakthrough, armor, reliability, radio 3, riveted armor. Do you know what? This is really good. I think the one thing that people make the mistake with is when they're making a super heavy tank, you think to yourself, oh, I'll make it with lots of armor on it. But to be fair, the chassis itself has got so much armor on it, you don't need to add any more armor onto it. So riveted armor is perfect on a super heavy tank. So he's actually done a really good job of keeping the cost down on the super heavy tank. F in the chat for the boy that doesn't own no step back. So what we got here then? I like this too. I like this too. He's added an extra battalion of artillery on to give it a decent soft attack. He's also added a battalion of AA on as well, which gives it a little bit of AA capabilities with a little bit of armor as well. The armor's not very high, but it's okay if it's early game, 1936 onwards. So it does a little bit of everything. Is it attacking? Is it defending? Is it fighting air? Is it fighting ground? I don't know. Just a little bit of everything. But I think for the most part, it checks out. It's fairly decent. It's fairly cheap. I approve. Next up, what we got here? The Panzer III. I hate that model. See that model there? I hate it. Every time I see it, I throw up a little bit in my mouth. What do we got here? Is it like a high velocity gun? It is. This is a medium high velocity gun. 125 piercing, 41 hard attack. Still decent soft attack though. He's added an extra cannon, so a land battleship, an extra machine gun too, radio 2, so breakthrough is decent as well. Riveted armor to keep the cost down. 14 production cost for a medium tank. That's pretty good too. It basically does a little bit of everything, and he's really gone for the engine as well. However, what's the downside to this one? What's the downside to this one? That's right. He's got 49% reliability. So if this tank takes damage in combat, unfortunately, the chance of it getting repaired is pretty low. So you will grind through these pretty quickly. That's the only downside, unfortunately. I suppose what you could do is change from the gasoline engine to the petrol engine, is it? The one that has more reliability, and that could keep the reliability up. And I guess you could replace one of these extra cannons with a wet ammunition storage. That might give you like 70 or 80% reliability. Just enough to stop it from breaking down at every possible opportunity. Next up, we have more of a larger division here, 38 combat width. What do we say about big divisions? That's right, they need logistics. And he's gone for logistics, so good on him. He also has decent armor as well. Only downside is the AUG is a little bit low. Go for at least 40 AUG. In this case, maybe remove 2 of the medium tanks, maybe add on 2 motorized, or maybe just add on the 2 motorized to be fair, because you could go for a 42 width. I don't think this tank needs recon though. I don't think the recon on this division doesn't really help it that much. Reconnaissance will benefit you massively on the defensive, but will only benefit you a very small amount on the offensive. And this clearly is an offensive division. I don't think it needs support AA when it's got 2 battalions of support AA motorized. I don't think there's any point adding that on to. But for overall, it checks out. Overall, I think it's just a little bit bloated on the support equipment, but this is a good offensive tank. Next up, we have the Leopard E. Improved autocannon, which is good to make it cheap. 2-man turret, radio, sloped, machine guns, skirts. It's got a Christie suspension, decent speed, decent reliability. Hey, I approve of this tank. This is a good little boy. Nice for cost efficiency, good for speed. Overall, it's basically the best light tank in the game you could pretty much make. Speaking of bad tank designs, look at this. Alpine Confederation of Europe. Who plays Switzerland, the focus street, and has a good time and enjoys it? You make me sick. The Mitteler Tractor. A tractor. Tractors at war. What's wrong with the Germans? Anyway, it's got a small cannon, which I approve of early game because it's got decent piercing. Breakthrough, soft attack, armor, reliability. 65% reliability is trash. This tank has got issues. It's very expensive for 1936. Now, this tank is awful. The armor could be better, the reliability could be significantly better, and the production cost of 10 for a 1936 tank is way too high. Okay, I'm not sure what mod he's playing here, but this is really weird. So we have a motorized artillery, which adds breakthrough. Okay. Then we have I guess cavalry pulled artillery. Then we have horses and light tanks, 8.4 armor. Okay. I don't understand what I'm looking at here. What do we have here? Medium tank, an advanced medium tank. Decent reliability. The lighter tank go for Christie suspension, decent armor, mixture of armor. Overall, it's basically made an anti-infantry encirclement division with loads and loads of speed. The only downside to it is he's done it with the Swiss. And who is playing the Swiss in HOI4? I don't know. People who hate themselves, I guess. Onwards. Next on, we have an armor division, which is a combination of mechanized and medium tanks. Org is a little bit low, but it checks out. Overall, it's defensive capabilities with the engineers and the mechanized. We've got 500 defense, which is pretty decent. Overall, it's getting a bit big though. We've got supply usage of 3.5. Needs logistics, needs logistics, needs logistics. But overall, it is a good division. I approve. What do we have here? This guy he's even circled the hardness of the division. He knows this division has maximum hardness. Big bother. Amazing. So we've got loads of motorized with one mechanized. It checks out. As you play the game, you produce mechanized and you'll start to replace the mechanized with motorized as time goes on, because that's how you play the game normally. Also loads of heavy, so lots of hardness, and also heavy AA as well, giving you a decent amount of 32 AA. Doesn't sound a lot, but 20% AA is minimal, and with that you get a decent amount of AA, so deny cast damage. Fantastic. Also gone for maintenance on there as well, which is interesting as well. I don't know why he's got engineers on though, but hey, engineers work late game if you get all the upgrades. All right, here we go. The HAA1. So we have an anti-air basic heavy tank here. The AA is, where is it? 16. That's okay. It's the first level of AA. It's not focusing on the breakthrough though, because he's only got for a one-man turret. Sloped armor, extra ammo. Reliability is just the bare minimum at 80%. That checks out. Decent amount of armor too. Yeah, for the most part, this is doing two things. It's adding on armor. It's giving you AA. This division's good. I like it. Next up, we have the heavy LP Churchill, the improved heavy chassis. Skirts, sloped, extra barrels. Armor 139. That's brilliant. I don't approve. I approve of this. I think the only thing I would do with this tank is because the armor is already really, really good. There's not actually much point of adding extra armor points on, so I could make the cost cheaper by removing the armor. All right, everyone knows what I'm going to say here. The organization is trash. 22 organization. This division is good. It adds lots of firepower, but it can't fight for very long. So the truth is, if it's up against a division with less stats but has more organization, more than likely this division could lose potentially. Get rid of some of the mediums, replace them with motorized, you'll be just fine. There's no point of the AT gun in here as well. I don't see the point of that. He's adding piercing on, but surely he can just add a bigger barrel on the mediums. I'm not against tank destroyers, guys, or high velocity cannons. I'm not against them. But I'd prefer it to be on the tank itself over adding a support AA on, because it feels like you're juggling multiple production types, so it's making your logistics more complicated and making it harder game for you. I love the soft attack though, nice and high. Engineer though, once again, you know my opinion of engineers. I don't think they work that effectively for offensive capabilities, but they work really well for defensive capabilities. So choose your poison. Next up, we have a ship. Wow! So it's got very multiple barrels here. Big batteries, 3 big batteries, and it's got lots of heavy attack and heavy piercing. I think if you're going to make a battleship, you need to focus on 2 things. The armor, by adding on a big armor. He's not gone for the biggest one, which is a bit confusing. And then 2, also focus on the amount of heavy attack and piercing. I think they're the 3 main stats. I have heard a whisper as well that AA is really good on capital ships, because naval bombers tend to prioritize attacking capital ships over attacking screening ships. So it's actually better to have the AA onto the capitals than it is onto the screens. But overall, I would add armor on, and I would also think about maybe 1 or 2 less batteries. Interesting take on a starter division. I like to see divisions like this because it shows at the very start of the game, if you're playing like Hungary or Yugoslavia or Bulgaria, what division you potentially could make. I feel like I've made a division like this in some games before. Once again, after you move them after 1941 though, probably not something you want to stick with. Another division I approve of as well, lots of air attack. Most of the time, there's not much point of adding more than 50 air attack though. The AI tends to ignore it. Remember, multiplayer games are different, so just ignore what I'm saying if you're playing multiplayer. Recon, so it's kind of like a defensive deny air build. Hey, if you're sitting in El Alamein and you're defending against an onslaught of the Luftwaffe planes, this is the division that wants to be sitting in El Alamein defending your ground. This division's awful. It's one of those divisions where it tries to do everything but does nothing really exceptionally. The soft attack's okay. The air attack is okay. The anti-tank piercing is okay. Don't make this division. It's stupid. If you're playing early game, you want to focus on one certain thing. You beat an infantry, go for the soft attack. You're defending against tank, make sure AT. And if you want to add on a little bit of support AA to defend against planes, do that as well. But just doing a bit of everything is just stupid. We have the T-34A1, which is a high velocity cannon with breakthrough and sloped armor, decent armor. Production cost is decent as well. Reliability checks out. Hey, I can't complain about this tank, guys. If you're looking to hunt enemy tanks with the division, this is your anti-tank tank All right, we have another tank here. It feels 1936-ish. I like the soft attack. I like the bit of armor, decent armor, 220 armor on an infantry division. Oh, that checks out. Don't you think you need logistics for this? It's only 21 width, early game too. I kind of like the artillery as well as the rocket for soft attack, like sticking as much soft attack. I like that as well. If it's defending, engineer's good. And support AA, I recommend. Hey, it checks out. If that's 1936, that's a decent tank. What do we have here? Who likes machine guns? Put your hands up if you like machine guns, because this guy definitely loves machine guns. He's gone for the light cannon, which I approve of because it's really good for hard attack and piercing. And it also decent amount of soft attack as well, which is great too. It does good soft attack because he's added so many machine guns onto it as well. For the early game purposes, I'm not usually a big fan of the radio, but it checks out. He's gone for extra breakthrough, which checks out. So he could have gone for welded armor and added an extra 4 armor points on just to get at least around about 25 armor. But for the most part, it checks out. It checks out. Hey, it checks out. We have a destroyer here with depth charges. Something I discovered recently, that apparently a destroyer without any depth charge modules apparently does some depth charge damage. I never even knew that. Actually, correct me in the comments below if I'm actually right. Someone told me this. I haven't actually checked it out. But apparently that's what they do. I feel like I like it to do a little bit of depth charge damage, a little bit of torpedo damage, and a little bit of light attack damage, and basically a little bit of everything. But overall, I don't feel like you ever want to make the ship too expensive, because for the most part, if this ship comes up against a high armor capital ship, it's still going to get shredded anyway. At the end of the day, the real damage dealers are going to be the carriers as well as the battleships. So to be fair, they're the ones that need to be focusing on the damage, and the screens need to be focused on doing what they do best, which is screening. We have an improved naval bomber airframe. So he's gone for the detection. He's gone for a big engine. He doesn't need that much of a big engine though, because look at the weight to thrust ratio. I think that the most optimal naval bomber is going to be one that keeps the cost down, but then also has the most amount of surface detection. Keep the surface detection high, keep the cost low, and pump out a lot of these. That's the way I see it. Next up, we have a 41 width attacking division here with artillery, mediums. I feel like I made a tank like this at some point. Soft attack's good, defense is good, breakthrough is fantastic, armor is decent. Overall, org checks out. What can I say? The only thing I probably would do differently is I'd get rid of the engineer. Yeah, everything else is perfect. Wow, another 9 out of 10. The SPA, self-propelled artillery. It's a basic medium SP. Radio's a bit of a weird choice on a tank that's a focus towards soft attack. SPGs are all about soft attack, so why would it need radio, which gives extra defense and breakthrough? Seems like a dumb choice, but whatever. Christie suspension is strange because it's still kind of slow. Rivet armor, it's okay. And 1 armor, it's okay. I guess he adds lots of soft attack, but maybe he could do a lot better on the armor. Apart from that, it's okay. So this is the spotter. I actually don't even know how effective spotting is these days, because you can spot with naval bombers. So I feel like maybe spotting is something I care less about than I've ever done. This is something I need to do testing on to know how effective it is. In the olden days, you'd have a strike force, which is sit in port, and then you'd have a spotting navy that would have lots of catapults with these as well as good radar. But at the moment, I'm not really sure how effective spotting is at the moment, so I'm not really sure if it's a good idea. I guess it's okay if it works, I suppose. Oh, we have someone who takes a picture of their screen. I love these ones. Wow, I already know the stats on this division are ass, because he's got way too many artillery on here. Once again, I don't really know the point of this division. It basically does everything again. So the soft attack is fantastic. 464. But the organization is 40. I'm almost detecting that this guy is cheated to get this division, because if you do research all the doctrines, and therefore your organization is very high. So it makes me think this has been cheated. And hey, listen, if this is legit, it checks out. The armor is fantastic. Breakthrough, HP, org, soft attack, artillery goes zoom, zoom. The slug, which doesn't even look like it's got a turret on that picture. So it's a tank destroyer with a fixed gun. Advanced heavy tank destroyer. That actually might be a super heavy cannon, that actually. It's got a muzzle turret. I can't remember what that's called now. It basically gives it more piercing. The armor is 257. Wow, this has got so much armor. And it's also got piercing of 321. This pierces everything. However, my face is in the way. Look at this. Production cost of 50. A heavy tank with a production cost of 50. This is an expensive boy. It's basically to impress your friends, but unfortunately, to make enough to fill a division is going to be very difficult. So what's called the Deliverer. It's got 28 production cost, so it's okay. Riveted, armor of 100, that's good. Yeah, I mean, it checks out, I suppose. What he's done here, I think, He's gone for a fixed heavy tank turret and added on a super heavy tank turret. I think that's what he's done. Hence the reason why the piercing is insane. It checks out though. I like that he's not focused too heavily on armor. 100 armor is enough. That's the reason why he's not gone off riveted, which is pretty good. Guys, did you enjoy those tanks? Did you learn something? Let me know what you learned in the comments below. If you want to join my Discord and add more tank templates for me to read in future, feel free to join my Discord, which the link is below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you. Bye. See you soon. Bye-bye. Whoa, what's this? Check this video out. This is the next video. This one.